Hello.
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 Okay, so today we're going to be looking at gender equality in the classroom. I'm gonna mute again.
Why so noisy?
Yeah, I'm gonna mute it for now. So remember to unmute yourself if you want to talk. Okay, so the objectives for this lesson are that participants will will reflect on gender and propose solutions to gender disparities in the classroom. So community guidelines. We are thankful to have everyone here. Please try and arrive on time. If you are late, that's okay, and you can join in as you would like. And also, if you have IT problems and need to leave and come back, I completely understand. I know sometimes the internet isn't the best there. Please mute yourself when you're not talking, especially if you have background noise. But remember to unmute yourself if you need to talk and to speak loudly. Please complete the pre-class interactive self-paced slides. They're sent out in the first email and they're put on the Google Classroom and on Facebook. And also complete the post-class evaluation form or feedback form, and I will email that out. This will help us revise and develop the course content. If you have any questions or technical issues during the session, please email us at info.hett@gmail.com, or you can send a message in the chat box, depending. Okay, so I think most of you should know me, but my name is Lisa Vance. I will be facilitating this class or training for today. I previously have worked as a teacher trainer in Myanmar, and I have taught English and I have taught environmental education. So Kathleen is our co-host. Kathleen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Kathleen Griley. I'm an English teacher and a Spanish teacher. I'm currently located in the US, but I've also worked in Mexico and online with people from many different countries.
How well do you understand gender disparities and gender equality? So not at all, a little bit more, somewhat more, and extremely well. So not at all, extremely well. So show me with number of fingers. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Can everyone show me? Okay, 3, 5, 2, 1, 4. Okay, so it depends a little bit. So do you think gender equality is important in universities? Good. State of being unequal or different? Good. So do you think gender equality is important in universities? You can type in the chat box or you can tell me, and why. Of course. Okay. Yes. 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 Okay. Anyone have any reasons why? I mean, there's lots of reasons why, but does anyone want to explain? Of course. Yes, I do. Okay. Because we are living beings as well as sharing many things. Have you ever seen any instances of gender disparity or inequality at your university or in general? So can anyone tell me any examples of gender disparity or gender differences? You can type it in the chat box or you can tell me. Human rights, yeah. So yeah, sometimes, I mean, legally, women and men are supposed to say have the same human rights, but it doesn't always happen. Anyone else? Does anyone have any instances around gender or issue like disparity or gender inequality? So an
Yes.
example, yes, yeah.
For example, boys can enter high university, but girls can enter high university with higher marks than boys.
So,
compared to boys, girls have more marks
so
to enter a high university.
they need higher marks to enter?
Yes. Girls need higher marks than boys.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. So yeah, I don't know a huge amount about at the universities, but one issue I saw in Myanmar was I saw some of the job postings, and some of the job postings would only ask for a male. So you could not apply for the job. You could not apply for the job if you were female. You could only apply for the job if you were male. So it wasn't based on your knowledge or skills. It was based also on your gender. Okay, yeah, some people treat LGBT as if they are not humans, especially in religion. That's true. So we're not going to, this is more specifically just gender, so just about females and males, but that's a good point about LGBTQ or LGBT plus. They face a lot of issues within society. I know in Myanmar, at least from my experience, there's still not a lot of, like, there's some acceptance, but there's still some issues with around people who are LGBTQ. So it is a problem, I think. Everywhere they struggle, but I did notice in Myanmar that a few people, I met a few people who were LGBTQ, and that they said they were very nervous about coming out to their friends and family in Myanmar. Technical universities prefer boys or men. Yeah, I will say that I was actually surprised how many women are at the technical universities, which I thought was very good. Both instructors as well as students. I believe the number of women graduating from university is higher than the number of men. But the issue that I've come across is that the number of women graduating is higher than the number of men, but less of those women are going into jobs. So more men are able to get jobs and less women are, even though more women are graduating. Okay. So what is gender equality? So if someone wants to type in the chat box or tell me, what is gender equality?
Every person has the same right.
Yes, yeah. So people of all genders have equal rights, responsibilities, and opportunities. Yeah. And there are different ideas, obviously, around gender equality and what exactly that means in different situations. Okay. Same right, same duty. Good. And so gender equality leads to better economies, improved safety, and improved health. Same rights between males and females. Good. So countries that have a higher gender equality are usually happier. So there's been studies done, like research done, and countries that have more gender equality have also are also the ones that when scored are more likely to be happy. Like the citizens are very happy. So that's another reason that gender equality is important, is because it leads to people being happier, both men and women, because it means people have more freedom to be who they want. So if you're a woman, you can have any job. You don't have to choose a stereotypical job. If you're a man, same thing, you can choose any job. So those are some kind of benefits to it. You have more freedom. So we're going to look at two terms now. The first term is talking about biology and kind of the anatomical differences between men and women. So it's like physical differences, you know, like women and men are physically different. And then there's also the chemical differences. So the hormones are different in men and women. Does anyone know what that's called? Improve in political views as well. Good. So what is that called? Does anyone know? Let's see. Sex, yes. Good. So that's the sex. So in English, when we're talking about the biological differences, we're talking about the sex of the person. If you're a man and you have your body is a certain way, you have certain chemicals, that is your sex. And a woman, your hormones and your chemicals and your body, that's your sex. Yeah, it's biological. Oh. And how about if it's cultural or shaped by society? What do we call that? Good. Gender. Yeah. Yes. Quite a few people wrote that down very fast. Yes. So gender it's kind of how you express, like a lot of times we talk about gender expression. So how do you express what gender you are? Do you have long hair? Do you have short hair? What kind of clothes do you wear? So that's kind of what we're talking about with gender. So it's not how you are physically, it's not your sex, but it's maybe how you express that. And it can be different based on culture, like how I act and how I express my gender as a woman in Canada might be different to how a woman might express their gender in Myanmar. So I notice in Myanmar, or like a man too, maybe a man for this example is easier. Men in Canada always wear pants. Men in Myanmar sometimes wear pants and sometimes they wear a longi. So how you express your gender or how you express it can be different based on your culture and based on your society and what's expected. If you're expected to get married or stay home with children, that can also change depending on the culture. Some cultures expect that more than others. And I would say gender is mostly based on culture and society, but sex does influence influence gender. So your hormones and how you think and how you feel based on your sex can influence how you might act with your gender, but culture and society, it expands upon that. It, we, say in Canada, we think like pink for girls, blue for boys. Obviously, a girl is not born knowing pink is for girls, and a boy is not born knowing blue is for boys. But there are hormonal differences in general. So maybe I think women in general can be a little bit better at reading skills. And maybe that leads to them being better at reading skills. So there can be, in general, biological differences that then lead to gender differences, but you don't know because everyone is different. Okay, so let's look at some terms. I would like you to decide if they are for women or for men more likely. So which gender is it most often associated with? So we'll just give you about 30 seconds. Is this study at universities? Is this more normally women or men? Which is it more often? There's no right or wrong, just to see your answers. So wait 30 seconds. Okay, so share results. So a few more women and men, some mix. Yeah, that was kind of my experience in Myanmar, is that it was both men and women, and maybe slightly more women were at the universities. Okay, earn a lot of money. Do you think this is more common in women or men? Oh, someone in the chat box. In Myanmar, yes for men. Okay, 2 more seconds. Stop it there. This one, almost everyone put men. So, yeah. I mean, this can be a big issue in that a lot of places women do earn less money. And then women don't have as many advantages. So they're kind of reliant on their husband or a male member of their family for money. Even if they're working, they might earn less, which isn't really fair. Next one. Work as a professor. So professor at a university. Is that more common in women or men? This one's like, I can watch it as it comes in, so you can see people's answers. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And okay, so you said a few more women, but it was women and men. And that's kind of what I saw too. I saw at least my experience in Myanmar, I saw more women as professors at universities, but there were both women and men. Okay, work as an engineer, women or men? Okay, 2 more seconds. This one was only men. Yeah, which really surprises me in that in comparison to how many women at the universities seem to be like how many women seem to be studying at the technological universities in general, like there seems to still be lots, but they're not working as engineers. So I don't know, maybe you guys know, but I don't know what's happening or where they're working afterwards, or maybe they're taking different, maybe they're in different departments from the men. I don't know if some departments have more women or if some departments have more men. But like I said, I did see job ads and they said only men could work as engineers, like it was engineering and then only men, which I thought was quite unfair because usually engineering is more about being able to answer questions and analyze than physical lifting. Okay. Work as a manager. So just in general, working as a manager, is it more common in women or men? Yeah. So a lot, most people put it's more common for men. Most of the high positions are men in Myanmar. Yeah. So, and that's, I mean, I think that's difficult because obviously men and women, well, not obviously, but men and women have equal intelligence. So a position like a manager, I mean, if people have equal intelligence, then a man or a woman should be able to do that position. And usually the higher positions pay better. So it means that like men are getting paid more money. Okay. Work in agriculture. Is that more common for women or men? This one's both. Okay, 2 more seconds. Okay. So I have slightly more men, but I have both men and women. And I think that's probably true. It's a comment. Okay, so yeah, I have no idea with Myanmar traditional view. For that, I want to say both men and women work. Yeah, I think agricultural, as far as I could see, it seemed like it was both. Yeah, like they both work as farmers and things like that. Like maybe specifically what they do is different, but it seems like both men and women work in that, in Myanmar. Okay, clean the house. Is that more common in women or men? People answered that really fast. Okay, so everyone put women. Yeah, I would say from my experience in Myanmar, it was a lot more common for the woman too. I think when this becomes, there's kind of two issues to this, in my opinion. One is that if both people are working, it's not really fair if the woman also has to clean and the man doesn't, if they both have jobs. But if I think it depends, like obviously if you are married, you can decide what is fair. Maybe one person cleans the house, and like in, I don't know as much about Myanmar, but in Canada, maybe one person cleans the house and one person fixes the motorbike or the car or something like that. You know, like people can choose to do different tasks. But a lot of times women do get stuck. Yeah, women do get stuck kind of cleaning the house. And sometimes it's a lot of extra work. And the other thing is sometimes it's seen as bad if men kind of clean. It's seen as not very masculine. So again, it's kind of trying to get rid of those ideas so that everyone can take part in what they feel comfortable doing. Care for children. Is that more common for women or men? This one was also answered quite quickly. So yeah, everyone put women. So again, that's kind of, let's look at the next one. Work in government. So is that more common in women or men? Both women and men. I'll stop there. Yeah, so the answers kind of show a little bit of both, with leaning towards women. Yeah, so yeah, both. Yeah, I would probably, from my experience in Myanmar, that seems correct to me. Like a lot of the government jobs, and I mean teaching, working at a university are government jobs, are done by women. I could be wrong though, but I kind of feel that more of the higher level government jobs have more men. But you also have Aung San Suu Kyi, who's running the country, so there is that. So it is run by a woman, but from my perspective, there seem to be more men that are kind of up high level. Okay. So before we move on, I don't have it in the slides, but I wanted to touch on that we're talking about men and women, but someone did mention LGBTQ or LGBT issues, and there are obviously trans people, and there are also people who are intersex. So just like we're talking here kind of in binaries of men and women, but there are people who are trans. So it's like men who want to be women or women who want to be men. And then there's intersex people who are kind of in between, and they're not really a man or woman. So we're kind of putting it into binaries for this, but there is people who don't fit into the binaries of man or woman. Okay, oops. What were all of these examples of in the previous exercise? Anyone know? So these are all kind of we're talking about stereotypical gender roles. So a stereotype is kind of when you think of it automatically, what do you think about? So stereotypical gender role, female, cleans the house, she looks after the children. Stereotypical male gender role, he's an engineer and makes lots of money. So that's kind of stereotypical gender roles. And what are gender stereotypes? I kind of explained it already a little bit. But so they're an oversimplification. Even though more women look after the children, maybe not all women look after the children. Maybe there's a man who does, or maybe there's a woman who is an engineer. So they are stereotypes, but they are an oversimplification, and it doesn't mean it is always true. So it's just when thinking about a large group of people. And it can be harmful to have stereotypes because people don't always fit into a stereotype. Maybe they're a woman and they don't want children. Maybe they're a woman, and I know this is quite controversial in Burmese society from my experience, but maybe they don't want to get married. Like, I don't want to get married, but if I tell people I don't want to get married in Myanmar, usually they think I'm kind of weird, in my experience. Or if I tell them I don't want children, they think I'm kind of weird. So it can be like each person is different, and just because we have those stereotypes doesn't mean that everyone fits into those stereotypes. Maybe a woman really wants to be an engineer. Maybe a man really, really wants to be able to look after children. You don't know. And they can be harmful because they put people in a box. It's like, you have to do this job. You have to stay at home. You have to look after the children. You have to clean the house. And so it kind of traps people. Or if you're a man, you have to make lots of money. You have to be an engineer. You have to get a high position. You can't help look after the children. You can't help clean the house. So there's no flexibility. Okay, so what's the opposite of gender equality? So equality is if the genders are kind of equal. What's the opposite of that? We kind of mentioned it at the beginning, I believe. So gender disparity. Yeah, gender disparity. So yeah, differences between the genders. So yeah, differences between them. Okay, what are some examples of gender disparities? Are there any specific to a classroom or university? I think we kind of already talked about some that you mentioned. So you mentioned about how women need higher marks to get into university. But we're going to look at 3 specific ones. We're going to look at curriculum, gendered language, and participation. So one thing about curriculum, so when we're looking at textbooks, one gender disparity is that many textbooks are written by men about men. So the author of the book is a man, and it talks about men in the book more often than women. And obviously, as women make up 50% of the population, this can cause issues if it's mostly men writing the books and mostly men in the books. Okay. We also have gendered language. So I don't know if this is an issue in Burmese. I don't know enough about Burmese. I don't speak Burmese. But in English, sometimes we have terms that signify it is a man or a woman for the job. So an example, if fireman. So obviously it's indicating it is a man, fireman as the term, or policeman, or stewardess means the ESS kind of means woman. So the terms are indicating which gender, and sometimes then if a woman would maybe not want to be a fireman, or a woman might not want to be a policeman, or a man might not want to be a stewardess. So that's why we've kind of switched, in English at least, we try and use more gender neutral terms. So for policeman, we might use police officer, because police officer is neutral, no gender. Fireman, we use firefighter, because it is gender neutral. Stewardess, we use flight attendant, because again, it's gender neutral, so that people will feel more okay being a man or a woman working in that job. The last way is through participation. So past adolescence, teachers are more likely to call on boys and interact more with boys. And sometimes this reinforces the idea that women and girls should be quiet in class. They should not speak up. They should not be loud. And obviously, this affects their learning. If they don't speak up, if they don't talk, then they're not learning as much. So it's important to kind of think about this while you're teaching. Think about the gender. How can you, as a teacher, make sure that you're not reinforcing gender disparity? How can you help your classroom have gender equality? Okay, so we're going to do a pair deck activity. You will reflect on 3 questions related to gender disparity. You will have 10 minutes to do this. You will do this individually, so by yourself, one person, no groups. Okay. Write your answers. Afterwards, you will share your answers in a group. If you have any questions, you can send a message in the chat box or to an email to info.hett@gmail.com. Okay. Let me see. We're almost out of time, actually, so we'll just do it quickly. Oh, okay. here's the link, and I'll give you 10 minutes to work on it. There are 3 questions. How can you make your curriculum more equitable? How can you avoid using gendered language in your classroom? Do you use it? I honestly don't know in Burmese, or if you use it in English. And how can you make sure that all students participate equally? So you have 10 minutes. It's I'll say 8:45, or sorry, 9, I have to convert the time. It is 9:15 there. So we'll say until 9:25. So you have 10 minutes to write your answer individually. And I'll stop sharing. So no groups for this one yet, just individually by yourself. 2 more minutes to finish.
Lisa, you're muted.
Yeah. Okay, my apologies. Please just work in your groups and talk in your groups. So I'll put you in groups and discuss your answers. So what did you answer for those 3 questions? And tell everyone in your group. You can talk in Burmese if you would like. That's okay. Okay, so we have 8, 7, 18. Let's just do, I'll do 4 groups. And for 5 minutes. So just talk and share your answers. Okay, so we're almost out of time. So we're not going to discuss the answers. Hopefully you were able to discuss them a little bit. But there look to be lots of good answers. Okay, so some people mentioned some gender disparities in their university, but can you think of any that you could help solve or deal with? I mean, this question I don't know. Is there anything, any issues in your own university that you could help with or focus on? So you can type in the chat box or you can unmute yourself and tell me if you would like. So is there any way that you can promote gender equality or deal with gender disparities? I mean, we've talked about some already, so if not, it's okay. Okay, how about once your students graduate as a teacher, do you think there's any way you can prepare them for potential gender disparities in the workforce? So once they graduate, how could you maybe help them? Promoting gender equality awareness? Yeah, that's an excellent way. You can educate them about gender. Yeah, so mostly in geology, men are favored. Yeah. So how could you, if men are favored, what could be done about that situation? Is there anything that can be done? Yeah, so engineering work prefers men. Yeah, so maybe make sure that your students know that, but then maybe you could get back to the awareness. So maybe talk about how there is this bias, this gender disparity in the workforce, and that maybe it isn't fair, or maybe that this shouldn't exist. So education is a good way to help deal with these problems, especially if you're the teacher. You can talk to your students about it and you can educate them about the issues. Finding alternative careers in this career field, yeah. So what if they are a woman, where can they work or how can they work in that field? Hey, show of fingers. So how well do you understand gender disparity and gender equality? Yeah. So not at all, a little bit, all the way up to extremely well. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. How many fingers? 4, 4, 4, 5, 4, I think. Some people don't have theirs on. Okay, awesome. Okay, so, oh, there's a comment for post-session email. So I will be sending out an email with the course feedback form and invitation to join Google Classroom. Oh, I also will send the link for the feedback form right now, just so it's easier. But I will also send it in the email later. But just so everyone gets it. Where is the chat box? Okay. So there's the feedback form. So if you want to do it now, you can fill it in now. Oh, actually just 2 seconds. I realized. Please don't answer this question yet. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you can fill in the feedback form now, and I will also email it out. Yep, you can now. You can fill it in, it's all good. I just had to change the one question from last week. Okay, and so next week's topic is strength-based teaching. And if you want to see the syllabus, you can see that in the Google Classroom as well. So we went a little bit over for time, but thank you very much. And bye-bye. I'll wait a couple minutes.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you. Good teacher. Bye-bye.
이거 현아 쌤하고 미국에 미지. Hello, teacher. Hello, may I ask a question?
Of course, yes. Sorry, I was muted.
Is there gender equality in your country, Canada?
I mean, it depends more so than Myanmar. I would say there's more gender equality in Canada, but less so than some countries in Europe. So it really depends on the country. There are still gender disparities in Canada, but less than Myanmar. So.
Good. Thank you, teacher.
Hi, teacher. I want to ask one more question.
Sure.
Yeah. In the civics lesson, I've read that in your region, women teacher teach children and teenager and adult are taught by men teacher, isn't it?
Yeah.
If so, in the later or how about in the promotion time, when they are promoted, how will they run for the job?
How do they advertise the job?
Yes.
Well, now, I mean, they just advertise the job. So now they don't specify the gender. So it's more cultural that it is expected that more women teach children and more men teach adults.
Yes.
But there's no rule. Like when you're applying for a job, a man or woman can apply. It's just more likely that a man will apply for teaching university and women will apply for teaching children. But both are allowed to. I don't know in the past, because I think in the past, almost all teachers were women, or most teachers were women, say 50 years ago. I don't think there was rules. Again, I think it was more just cultural. That was what was expected. It was expected that someone who teaches children is a woman and someone who teaches men or teaches adults is a man. But I don't think there was a rule about it.
No.
It's for everyone.
It's maybe only their own choice.
Yes, yeah, it's their own choice. Yeah, it's like it's cultural. Like
Mm,
So that's why it's like different in Myanmar compared to Canada. It's like what is expected of you can be different.
yes.
So
Thank you.
yeah. And that's something about gender disparities. They can show up in different ways in different cultures.
Yes.
So maybe in Canada, we have more women don't want to teach adults as much. But maybe in Myanmar, there's lots of women who teach adults. So it can be different
Yes.
in different countries, obviously.
Why can it be different?
Why?
Why they don't want to teach other in your region?
I don't know. Kathleen, do you know kind of why there's that kind of stereotype that women teach more children and men teach probably more adults or older students?
So I know in the US, I'm not sure if this is the same in Canada, but it's probably similar. In the US, originally all teachers were male at university level and for children.
Oh, okay.
But at some point, like 150 years ago, they needed more schools. And this was still when a lot of people in the US worked in agriculture. So a lot of men were working on farms. And so generally women had more education as children. And then women were the ones who then became the teachers. So it was sort of the tradition that if you attended primary school and secondary school, then you're allowed to teach primary school, even if you didn't have a license as a teacher. So just that job was more popular for women at that time when they started opening a lot more schools. And so now it's just part of the culture that that's how women teach. But since universities were always better funded and a little more stable, they kept the idea that men were the professors.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know. I don't know the history in Canada. I don't know if it's the same or not. I know like my grandma was a teacher, and it sounds, so that would be like 50 years ago, and there seemed to be mostly females then. But yeah, I don't know about more than that. From my perspective, but I could be wrong, a lot of higher level jobs are men or are traditionally like seen as for men. And I think a university job could be seen as like a higher level job. So more likely to attract men or more likely for them to hire men because it's seen as kind of like higher level.
Yes. Now there is also many women in higher level.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or? Okay. Thank you. I'm going to leave. So thank you very much and bye-bye.
Thank you, teacher. Bye bye.
Bye.